Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the Anta Shockwave 6 Pro. So this is the Shockwave line. And if you guys didn't know, Kyrie Irving was actually wearing the Shockwave 5 Pro last year, or the beginning of this year I believe it was, when he signed with Anta, because he liked this shoe, and this was kind of like his shoe with Anta, even though it wasn't his signature shoe. His signature shoe, of course, is the Kai 1, but also rumor has it the Shockwave 6, right? The Shockwave 6 and the 6 Pro, the overall design, this design was supposed to be the actual Kai 1. I don't know what happened, but they changed it up, and of course the Kai 1 is what it is now. That is just a rumor right now. But yeah, we have the Shockwave 6, the regular Shockwave 6, which retails for like 110 bucks, 120 bucks. And then this is the Pro version, which is like 200 bucks, right? And I got this over at Kickzones, and over at Kickzones it's like 200 something dollars, which is kind of insane. But they did the same thing in the Shockwave 5, right? So we had the Shockwave 5, the regular one, and then we have the Shockwave 5 Pro, which it was a very similar shoe, right? The traction was very similar, but the cushion was a good amount improved here in the Pro. So yeah, we'll have to see on how the Shockwave 6 Pro is compared to the regular Shockwave 6. But if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started off with the traction. So the traction is actually very different from the regular Shockwave 6, right? So yeah, as far as the overall tech specs go for all of these shoes, it's pretty hard to get actual tech specs because I was just on like different retailers, and they're all Chinese retailers. The English is a little bit off, as well as the tech specs. They all say something a little bit different. So I'm sorry, I apologize if the tech is a little bit wrong, but of course I'm just gonna try to tell you how it feels. But yeah, here in the regular Shockwave 6, we have pretty much like a herringbone traction pattern, and one website was saying it's Duratrack rubber for both the regular Shockwave 6 and the Pro, right? And Duratrack is like their ultra durable rubber from Anta. But yeah, of course, like I said, the pattern is very different because in the regular Shockwave 5 and the Shockwave 5 Pro is pretty dang similar. The only difference is like this forefoot part. But the overall traction pattern and like how it looks is very, very similar compared to this and the herringbone, right? But yeah, as far as the traction goes, just trying it on my wood floors, the traction doesn't seem that good. It has an okay bite so far. There's also very little squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but maybe they changed up the rubber compound a little bit, because the Shockwave 6 was super loud, very, very squeaky, very high pitched, and then with the Pro, it's not super loud. So yeah, I'm hoping, just like the Kai 1, you know, the Kai 1 when I first got it, it wasn't that good, but then I started to play in it, break it in, and it got really, really good. So I'm hoping the Shockwave 6 Pro is the same as the Kai 1 in that way, but we'll have to see on that, of course. And as far as the durability goes, like I said, it is using Duratrack rubber, so it's supposed to be durable, but it doesn't seem like it'll last that long, because I mean the rubber is pretty hard, but there are some really, like where the lettering is, there are some sharp parts, you know, like thin sharp parts, which make it pretty soft. So I have a feeling that that might kind of rip off if you are playing on outdoor course. So just be careful with that. Definitely the Shockwave 6 feels way more durable, right? And also we do have a little bit of an outsole curvature, right? We have a rounded shape here, and also the rubber coming up here on the medial side, giving you better grip when you're doing crazy crossovers, crazy moves like this, which of course I always appreciate. So the traction feels like a little bit of a disappointment, especially comparing to the regular Shockwave 6. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition. Overall, it does feel very smooth, but also very springy, right? So it is using carbon fiber, right? It's a carbon fiber midfoot shank plate. I don't think it's full length, but here in the heel we have a nice rounded shape. It's not super soft here in the for the foam, right? There's not a crazy amount of compression, but it's not crazy clunky. Of course, the Shockwave 5 wasn't super clunky, but it was a little bit clunkier and a little bit stiffer here in the heel comparing to the 6, right? So the heel feels nice, and then coming into the forefoot, we have a nice rounded shape as well, but also we have a nice forefoot flex, right? But it has a little bit of tension, right? I have to put a little bit of force here into it to bend the actual forefoot, and there's a nice kind of springiness and rebound back comparing to the Shockwave 6, which is just a little bit more flexible feeling, right? It feels a little bit more flexible. It still has a nice rebound back, but the Pro feels a little bit springier. And of course, the Shockwave 5 Pro was using carbon fiber as well, but it was like a 3-piece system where we had a piece here, here and also right over here. And the Shockwave 5 is just a little bit more, it's not as springy feeling, you know, it's just really flexible here in the forefoot. The 6 Pro feels a little bit springier, right? So there's a heel to toe transition. Now moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is a little bit different as well. It is using full length N2 foam, but when you see the N2 right here, it says N2 Pro, right? So of course it's the nitrogen foam, and it doesn't say N2 Pro here in the Shockwave 5 Pro, right? It just says N2. So I wonder if it's different, but then I checked all of the websites and they all said just nitrogen foam or N2 foam, which is kind of weird. But either way, it doesn't feel that much better or that much more special in any way comparing to the Shockwave 5 Pro, right? I would actually say the Shockwave 5 Pro feels way better for step and comfort, right? And I feel like that has to do with the insole. The insole in the Shockwave 5 Pro is pretty nice because they are using, I believe it was an N2 foam insole, and this is actually quite thick. And it feels pretty dang nice for an underfoot cushion. And of course, we have that really soft mesh strobe board, right? Here in the Shockwave 6 Pro, the insole is quite trash. It's really thin. It doesn't really add that much to the step and comfort, which is not bad because underneath that, we have also a really soft mesh strobe board, but it's a different type of mesh, right? In the 5 Pro, it's like a jersey mesh type of material. Here in the 6 Pro, we have like a screen mesh type of material, but of course we can see the full length N2 foam. Then when you press it here with your finger in the heel and also in the forefoot, it's soft, it's nice. And then here in the midfoot, you can see the carbon fiber midfoot chain plate, right? So yeah, it's a little bit nicer than the Shockwave 6, of course, right? But is it that much nicer? Not really right now. We'll have to see when I play in it and maybe like break it in a little bit more. But just walking around in it right now, the step and comfort feels just a tiny bit softer, unfortunately, right? Probably because also the Shockwave 6, I did break the shoe in, right? But yeah, the step and comfort is pretty nice so far. And also, I feel like it's not that nice because the core feels really good. You are low to the ground, and also they are using a different foam, like for the carrier, right? So this is probably just an EVA, and then we probably have a full length N2 foam, right? It is full length, but it's probably pretty thin. It's probably like a core type of cushion for the N2 foam. So the cushioning setup feels all right so far, not amazing. I mean, the step and comfort is pretty nice, especially comparing it to shoes that use like a traditional strobe board with like a stiffer foam. But it's not anywhere near as nice as like the Shockwave 5 Pro or like the Kai 1, you know? But I think a plus definitely is the court feel, and also there is a little bit of compression here in the heel because this is an exposed foam, comparing it to the Shockwave 5 Pro, which is it's pretty heavily caged here, right? So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper also is a pretty big difference from the regular Shockwave 6, and I feel like the 6 Pro has the best quality material out of all the Shockwaves I have on this table, right? So the Shockwave 5, the Shockwave 5 Pro, the Shockwave 6, and the 6 Pro, this is the best, right? So the 6 has like this mesh material, right? It's a really, really thin material with this like grid pattern on it that's stitched onto it. And it's really soft, you know, conforms to your foot very well. Not the most supportive feeling upper, but it gets the job done. It's adequate, right? But here on the 6 Pro, we have like a textile material, and there's a lot of heavy embroidery here in the toe box, and also throughout the entire upper. Look at that. I don't know what it is with Kyrie, but I guess he really likes embroidered stuff. Because, you know, the Kai 1 Speed and the Kai 1 had embroidered uppers as well. I mean, they also do have mesh. But anyways, it's also really thin. But it's not as thin as the Shockwave 6, but it's still really, really thin. It also feels very supportive because of all this embroidering. And it feels really nice on foot. It conforms your foot very well while still feeling supportive. And it's really thin and minimal, which I do like. And the quality feels pretty dang nice, you know? And probably the durability is going to be good, especially at the tip of the toe. You can see the individual lines of embroidered material that's stitched onto it. And that just kind of, you know, improves the durability, makes the material a little bit stiffer, a little bit thicker here. So that's pretty dope, right? And then for the tongue, we actually have a pretty nice bit of padding. It feels nice and plush. It's not as plush and it's not as thick as like the Kai 1 and the Kai 1 Speed, but there is a little bit of padding to it, which does feel nice, right? We also have a little bit more embroidered material here on the tongue. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, it is very, very well padded because we do have have a singular Achilles pad, which does feel very, very nice. It's very plush. It's like a memory foam type of material. It's pretty dang thick. It protrudes out a lot. So you can definitely feel it like on your ankle bone and also going around the back of your ankle. And also where your Achilles is, of course. And it improves the lockdown. It just feels really comfortable. And it's way better than the Shockwave 6, right? The Shockwave 6 doesn't have that much padding. And also one thing I didn't like is this part because it kind of curves in. And right here on top is pretty stiff, right? On the inside, it's a lot softer because that's where the foam is, but on top, it's a little bit stiffer. So when I was walking and playing, it would dig into the back of my Achilles a little bit, it would rub there. But of course, here in the Pro, we have a heel tab, which I don't experience that at all, right? So the material quality is definitely the best, and I really like how it feels on foot. It's just a really nice mix of everything for me personally. Like, it's thin, it's minimal, it feels overall supportive, quality feels great, and conforms to my foot very well. It's not pinching or anything. So yeah, I really like that. And also here in the heel, we do have a plastic kind of material. It cages the foam a little bit, you know, it comes into the midsole, but also comes all the way around the heel and wraps right here, right? So yeah, there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size, and it fits a little bit long. I would say there's a little bit of space here for length. And also like at the tip of the toe, it's a little bit roomy on top of my toes, right over here, like kind of like where, you know, my toenails are. But like at the back, it's a little bit more snug. So I don't know, I feel like if I did go down half a size, however, it might be a little bit too snug, so just be careful with that. I feel like if you have a really skinny foot, or you want a really snug fit, then go down half a size. But for most people, going true to size will probably be fine. It'll just be a little bit long, right? And also width-wise, I would say it's around normal width to slightly narrow. It's just a really nice snug fit for me width-wise. So yeah, it's overall pretty nice for the fit. I would say the Shockwave 6 is a little bit better, you know? It feels a little bit more snug here in the toe box. It's also a little bit shorter. It was just like perfect for length for me. Same thing here in the Shockwave 5 and the 5 Pro. These all fit me a little bit better than the 6 Pro. It's just a little bit long, right? So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, it feels like it'll be very good, right? So this overall upper is really supportive feeling. It's actually kind of like stiff feeling while still like conforming to your foot very well. It's kind of weird, you know? But yeah, as far as the lateral containment goes, this material, it feels like it has you covered. And then here in the midfoot, we have this kind of crazy design. It's the foam and also this plastic piece. It's like spiky. Look at that. It's spiky here. And then on top, it says Anta, what does it say? Anta Shock the Game, actually, STG. So yeah, obviously that'll come up here in the midfoot, acting as a sidewall, and then we have this kind of like external heel counter. So lateral containment feels like it'll be good, and also lateral stability is very, very wide. Look at that. Very, very wide shoe. You can see how much the foam protrudes out here in the forefoot, and also the heel lockdown feels really nice so far because of that Achilles pad. So yeah, support and lockdown feel very, very nice. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, I feel like, it feels pretty light, but not super light. I'm guessing like 11, 12 ounces. Yeah, 11.8 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.8 ounces. Let's check the Shockwave 6. 11.1, so it's a little bit heavier. It makes sense because of the upper. The Shockwave 5 Pro is 12 ounces, and then the regular Shockwave 5, I feel like it's a little bit, yeah, it's 12.85 ounces. So yeah, I definitely feel like they did a good job in making this shoe overall pretty dang lightweight, while still feeling really supportive so far. I mean, the Shockwave 6, the regular one, was adequate for me, even though it's just a really minimal upper. So I like how the shoe feels overall so far. And now moving on to the aesthetics, it's okay. I'm a very simple design kind of guy. I feel like they're doing way too much with the embroidered upper, and it just looks too chaotic for me. You know what I mean? Especially just like this piece also looks kind of weird to me. So I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetics. It's growing on me a little bit. I really didn't like it off at first, but still not my favorite design. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed. You know what I mean? Like the traction, it doesn't feel too good. The cushion doesn't feel like that much of an improvement right now over the regular Shockwave 6. I do like the upper quality. It feels nicer and feels like it'll be a little bit more durable in terms of like it'll last longer, it feels like, compared to the regular Shockwave 6. But it's a lot more expensive, and it doesn't feel like that's worth it. You know what I mean? Like 110 to 120 bucks versus like upwards of 200 bucks is kind of crazy, you know? So, not a huge fan of it right now. I'm not saying it feels terrible, but we'll have to see on how everything breaks in. But from my first impressions, it's feeling alright so far. So, that about concludes my first impressions look on the Anta Shockwave 6 Pro. Again, if you guys want to cop any of these shoes, I try to leave a link in the description box. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.